your voice is connected to your vagus nerve, which is then going to regulate your nervous system. And we know that a nice regulated nervous system, or one that you can start building the window of tolerance so you can deal with the stresses in life, singing and vocalizing helps you get into that state. The more we're in that state, the more our body can heal, because our body wants to heal. We just need to put it in the right environment.
Welcome to Don't Step on the Bluebells, the podcast where personal healing and transformation take center stage. I'm your host, Amanda Parker, and I'm a fellow seeker on the journey of personal growth. Join me as I delve into the stories of gifted healers, guides, and everyday people who have experienced remarkable transformations. Listen in as they share their practical wisdom to enrich your everyday life. And don't forget to hit subscribe and never miss a new episode. Welcome to today's episode of Don't Step on the Bluebells. I am here with the wonderfully talented Charlene Huskinson, who wears many hats. She is a phenomenal holistic voice coach and sound therapist. She also happens to be an extremely talented video and podcast editor. Luckily, I get to have her here working on Don't Step on the Bluebells. But I'm so happy to have you on the other side of the camera today. So welcome, Charlene.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to have this conversation.
As am I. I think from our very first conversation, the first time we met to talk about Don't Step on the Bluebells and what role you could play within that, we talked about this incredible work that you do through voice healing and sound. And I don't think I really fully understood it back then, but I've just been privileged to watch you in action. I mean, see some of these videos that you've made of the work you do. And I was like, all right, it's time. I got to get her on here.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just so beautiful how it all worked, with the podcast. And then my friend Lily was like, oh, do you want to have go for this? And I was like, yeah. And then when we connected, it could have been anything, but it was about healing. And I was just like, oh, wow, it's amazing. So do you want to know about the journey of sound?
I want to know everything, but I can also just laugh about the serendipity of how we came into each other's lives, because I had a couple of conversations with different podcast editors, and part of my journey has always been like, okay, what do I do? Like, do I go for what's going to be like super simple and like quick production and da-da-da? And it was like, we had a chat and I just knew. So it just, yeah, I even have goosebumps saying it. Like, it just felt right.
Yeah.
And I mean, it feels like a lifetime ago, like all of the work that we've been able to do together, the event that we co-hosted last year, the psychic salon, like, it's really a magical unfolding. And now I know that you're also much more fully like embodying your gifts out in the world.
Yeah, in a completely different way to how it all started, really. And I suppose actually it started, as a child, you're always singing and dancing. I mean, well, I was. And I think we kind of know as children that we need those things in our life, and we just express it, and we're not scared of it, and we play. And then I sort of like evolved into sort of the band stuff and being in and out of rock bands or trip hop bands and working with producers, to being a sound therapist and holistic voice coach. It's like, I feel like I've kind of gone full circle. I'm still on this journey with my voice, and yeah, to be able to share it with others is so important, because it's I think probably one of what I've realized is one of the biggest blocks that people have is the voice. And even though I was singing, I was still coming from this performative kind of place, and still not being able to speak up with certain things, or in relationships and not being able to say what I needed to say. So it was like it's been a whole journey and sort of realization of what we know when we're children, and coming really back to that, and playing and making sounds and allowing ourselves to make sounds. We are told to be quiet all the time in many ways, even yawning. It's like shameful to, you're like, someone does that. They're like, be quiet, don't yawn too loud. That was loud. a bit obnoxious. So, it's like coming back to, even babies, if you think about how babies make the sounds, what's the first thing that we come out of the womb when we scream and we make sound? And then we kind of forget how to do that and how important it is for us to tap into that. And then using the voice as a tool for self-expression and healing, and how we can, really work with that to tune into what we need, even on a physical level. So yeah, it's wild, this journey with the voice and what unfolds.
So I hear a couple things from what you're sharing. One is really about sound, and one is about voice. And they also seem to be quite different. Like it feels like a different energy. If I think of sound and I think of like, you're also like editing sound, this is also like
Yeah.
this element of hearing things and listening and paying attention to the nuance is so deeply ingrained in who you are and what you do. And voice. I mean, we're talking about your physical voice, like what you actually hear, but finding your voice, expressing vocally, like, especially as entrepreneurs or businesswomen or healers, things like that, you're still finding who you are. That's how I think of it when I'm hearing you talk about voice. It's like the sounds you make, but also like, who are you? What message are you sharing with the world? What are you
Yeah.
standing for?
Because it's vibration, isn't it? And it's our essence. And we're like when we're making these sounds or communicating, it's like, how do we want to show up? And we want to be in our authentic self. We want to be authentic when we express ourselves. And how do we find that? How do we explore that? And the using the voice is what we're all doing every day, day in, day out, even if it is writing an email, because that's a voice, that's an expression. You've got the voice in your head as you're writing the emails, like it's the same. It's a vibration. We want to be ourselves, don't we? But it's tricky because we've got lots of conditioning that we have to undo, belief systems and all of this stuff that we have to unpick. But first we need to learn and understand our own instrument. It's an instrument that brings stuff to life. What's in ourselves will come through and we speak it to being. And so where do we start with that? And I think it's just getting to know your instrument. And how does it sound? Like we're not talking really necessarily about singing. So it's like that self-discovery, like who is making that sound? What is that sound within me? What does it want to say? People say, oh, hear those whispers, and then I was ignoring it and then it became louder. It's like, what is that? That's our voice. Yeah. And so I see singing and sounding as our soul singing and sounding. It's our voice. Our voice is our soul's expression. We kind of shut it down. So it's like, how do we tap into that? And there's loads of beautiful ways of working with that. And I think ultimately it's working with joy and tapping into that side of stuff. Like it doesn't have to be, I think that's what's so beautiful about the voice. It's not, there's breath work and there's all these beautiful deep practices. And this is deep in a different way. I feel like people really can connect to this beautiful joy and pleasure, and they walk out of a session and they're like, whoa, like they just feel alive. I think it just lights up every cell in your body and you're literally buzzing when you're singing. I don't know if you've ever been in a choir, or even if you're singing, in the bar, in the shower, whatever it is, it can lighten your mood. And we always, if we sing with our friends, if we're out, it's like, it feels good. There's so many layers to the voice. And really it's just coming back to and finding our own sound and our own frequency.
So I know that there's a lot of traditions and people that I know who have also practiced chanting. And that wasn't something I wasn't familiar with what chanting was specifically, aside from maybe doing it without like real intention or knowing that that's what I was doing. But I was recently, so I really love Rebecca Campbell's work. So she's an author and spiritual teacher. And she was talking about kirtan, which is a method of chanting in, I think, Hinduism, if I'm
Yeah,
not screwing
yeah,
this up. Yeah.
yeah, that's correct.
And I know she's recorded a few basically chants of her own that are on Spotify. And I started listening to those sometime last year and just singing along, and like the power of being able to use your voice freely without judgment. It's so simple. The lyrics are really easy. It's not about that. It's not about getting the right pitch or anything. It's just there's such deep meditation in being able to sing. And it's like a part of me, it feels like, that I just haven't used maybe ever, or like in decades.
Yeah, chanting is so powerful. You basically given the brain something to do, because it's always going,
Oh, that's
what's
so
this? What's
good.
going? So it's like, here you go, here's some words, brain.
Yeah.
Mind, here's some words, mind.
Uh,
Say those words. And it's easy, it's predictable, it knows what it needs to do. And so it's like, cool, it's like happy, you know.
it's so funny you say that, because I did, like, before I knew how to meditate. I mean, whether I know now or not, we can debate that. But years ago, I was doing like a Deepak Chopra and Oprah 21-day meditation. And he was offering, I don't remember what it's called, but it was like a mantra, a word you say when you're breathing in, a word you say when you're breathing out. And it just, like, then I could do the meditation. I could
Yeah,
calm my mind. I could be in it. Now listening to you, I understand why.
yeah. And you're literally just giving the mind
Yeah.
something to do. And, and then also with those ancient mantras, there's the intention. So they like say intention plus sound equals healing. So
Mm.
you're making that sound, and then many people have sung that mantra. It's got that meaning, it's got that intention. So it's like they say that it's even more powerful because so many people have sung it over the
Oh,
years.
wow.
And so it really is like you're really embodying that power and that sound of that intention that was set when it first was made.
Oh my God. I never thought of that. Thank you for bringing that in. Like, I never even considered that, like, places that you go hold that kind of emotional or
Mm.
spiritual resonance, because so many people have
Yeah.
gone there for that purpose of prayer or healing or whatever it
Mm.
is. I never even considered that with mantra or
Yeah,
sound.
yeah. It's so powerful. That's why we have to be really mindful about what we're listening to,
Yeah.
because it's like, the Western music is great, but, I do love a good old pop song, as we all do and stuff.
Yeah.
But, like I'm a little bit more mindful. I'm like, don't know about those lyrics, because,
I'm gonna kill you.
right. But,
Ah!
like it's
Yeah.
not the greatest thing to
Yeah.
say over and over again, because they are mantras. Like you're singing
Mm.
other people's songs over and over and over again. What is the message behind that?
And now that you're saying it, what's the energy that was in the song as it was created? Like, okay, this is like mind blowing to me now. So
Yeah.
tell me more. What does it look like? So when someone's coming in for, voice sound healing, what is it that you're actually doing together?
So there's two ways of I kind of work, and obviously the person can do both depending on what's kind of going on and what their goals are. So my teachings of the College of Sound Healing was sound healing with the voice. So a person would come in and they would lay on a couch, a massage bed, and I would. So I don't know if you do Reiki. So it's a similar thing as I ooh over people.
Mhm.
So that's the way I describe it. So it's like it's a sonic massage. So I don't actually touch anyone, but I'll read
Mm.
the energy with my voice by toning. So I would scan the body with an ooh. So it'd be like ooh. And I would then intuitively read or feel different places where there's energy either stuck, or I would get like a message that there needs to be something
Mm.
there and moved or whatever. And then you go in and you actually put the frequency into those. So say if they had a bad knee, or if that came up, or if you felt that there was a block on their back or something like that, you would just tone into those areas. So there's a basic sound healing, and then there would be sound healing with the intervals. That's another thing where I would sing intervals up, where it's like cleaning the energy. Ba 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 ba. You're going up the scale, and you're kind of like combing the energy field and cleaning it, and then you come down. And so I'm doing that with my voice, but then we can also do that together and use our own voices. You can work with pain in a way where if someone, because everything has frequency, we can tap in. So if you had a painful wrist, I would get you to feel into that pain and then make the sound. What does that sound like? And it's the frequency, because we are vibration. You would tap in. I mean, I've done this myself, and it's just like, what? When I was training, what do you mean? And then you're like, and then I would make the sound with you, which sounds crazy. And then you put in, so you've acknowledged that, and then you basically tone into that with what you want it to be. So you tune it up. So your body knows its own codes. Your body and your soul knows what its homeostasis, what it wants to be. It doesn't want to be out of balance. And so it will always want to be in pure frequency, or, you know, like it, so it knows, it hears the pure tone, and it will entrain to that. And so then it's like a guitar or a piano, you're tuning your body up with sound. So that's one way of I use my voice. And
just to check in then, because you mentioned Reiki, which is something I'm familiar with. I don't know if the listeners all are, but there was an episode, go back in time. And essentially with Reiki, you'd be moving your hands through the body. You're channeling energy that's coming through you. And you would feel if there's like a block of energy, or if the flow is not really flowing, and then the practitioner would use their intuition to get a better understanding of, you know, what needs to move or what needs to be done. So from what I'm hearing from you, you as the practitioner, you're using your voice to actually move over the body. And on the one hand, you're getting intuitive messages about what's happening. On the other, would your voice actually change if you reach a block? Would there be something that's different?
Yeah, which is really funny.
Okay.
So sometimes it wobbles, it goes, and I'm like, well, what the hell? You know, I've had to get to know these things, or my voice would crack, or it go out of tune, or there's a heat or coldness that will come back, but there's like a communication, what's going on with that energy body. But yeah, it's really interesting. And sometimes the my amazing teacher from the College of Sound Healing, Alexandra, would say, like, basically, you know, our stuff can get in the way. So it's like, if you're in an area and it's wobbling, come out. If it's not wobbling, then it's them. But if it's still wobbling when you're out, then it might be something that you're projecting or whatever. So
because I've had quite often, even on the podcast, and I've heard it myself, maybe others have you've probably picked up on it because you know my voice so well by now. There's moments where like there's like a frog in my throat, and I'm almost losing my voice, and I have to like clear and drink water.
yeah.
And it's so funny because I'm not always fully aware if it's mine, if it's theirs. Like I'm still trying to feel in when it's like, okay, what's going on here? Is this something that's really like tapping into something for me? But I guess that's also a part of what you're listening to. Does it work that way as well? Is I guess what I'm asking. If you're talking to someone, can you hear just from the tone of their voice?
You can.
That something's out?
Yeah, you can. And there is actually like studies that go into this in more depth. And then I think it was, there's a book called Toning, and she goes into this as well. I forget the author. I'll have to give you the details after. And where certain voices would then be linked to certain diseases. So if a person had a certain tone in their voice, or they're high pitched or whatever, that they would have like a cancer, for example, or heart disease, or, you know, whatever it was, that it's our imprint is because we're holding so much stuff there. it's like an imprint to what could potentially happen if you don't work with that block.
It's funny because I'll notice it also depending who I'm speaking to. And so depending how comfortable I am or how grounded or whatever, if I'm nervous or I'm like intimidated, totally different voice.
Yeah, 100%. It's
Mm,
like it changes so much. And it, I think because it's the voice, there's always, and it's such a broad topic. You're never going to be like cool in every single area of the voice. I'm singing, doing this stuff, but then I'm like, oh, have to speak in front of people about something. Then I'm like, but it's like I'm still working on these things as well,
yeah.
but it's just different parts of the voice.
Well, I would rather say that's why you're doing the work you're
This
doing.
is why
Like we're literally always doing the work that we most want and need.
100%.
So
Yeah. And to feel
that tracks.
it makes sense.
Yeah. Yep.
So I think it's always that like acknowledging, okay, is that mine? Or maybe that is a part of mine. And then realize, okay, cool. Do I have that? Is that going on?
Yeah.
I remember doing a sound and yoga and sound session with my the teacher Shruti, and she was like, "I'm going to do this session about the voice and the throat chakra, and the whole session is going to be about the throat chakra. Love it. Let's go through the chakras." So when I get to the singing part, I went, oh. And there was so much that happened to me in that split second of like, I was like, what is going on with my voice? Like I couldn't control it. And I was just like, but then my ego was going, don't sing again. Don't sing another note. It's terrible. Everyone's, and the judgment and that all happened. And I was like, oh no, I'm carrying on. And I carried on and it cleared up. But I was like, what the hell? It was like maybe a collective throat thing that I was also feeling in that moment and maybe helping clear certain things. But I was like, okay, spirit team, can we not make me sound like shit?
I'd like to sound pretty now.
Can
Thank
I
you.
sound, we don't need to do that. But I remember, then I remember my teaching, like when we're going through stuff, it's gonna sometimes wobble, or there's stuff that will move. And there are edges as well. Like when we're practicing vocal training, you're not going to be perfect in every area. You have to train and understand your instrument. Where are the edges? Where does it go? Okay, how does that sound there? And how do I get over those, that into that high note smoother? It's really feeling comfortable with all of it, right?
Yeah, I mean, so definitely I understand that because it happens for me all the time when I'm like coaching or in any healing work I do, that like the people who come in are always my mirror. Some way more than others. Like some clients, I'm really like, do we have to go through this together? Like, come on. But there's always so much learning because the wisdom that comes out of me in those moments. And I'm like, no shit. Like I know this. I actually know how to respond to this differently. So there's the wisdom there. And honestly, just with the throat, it's whenever I do healing work or I'm in like a group and kind of tuning into that energy, it's always the throat.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always like and I always have to check in, is this mine? Is this mine? Because it comes up for me all the time. But sometimes it's not specifically mine. It's just you feel this heaviness or this block of people like really unable to speak or move through what those blocks are.
Yeah, and if you think about when you're feeling emotional, like this is what's coming to mind. Like when you're feeling emotional and you're trying to suppress that emotion and you're like, this is not the right time to be bawling your eyes out. Feel that pain that you have in your throat, the lump. We're doing that all the time. There's so much constriction in that area. And when we look at the vocal cords, it's like bones in a little trampoline There's like loads of muscles that are around these bones that help everything come together. And you can just imagine if all that tension, you can't speak. The best place to start with, really getting to know your voice is just humming, and like it doesn't need to be anything, or even like mantras, and coming away from that good and bad, and like you've got the Simon Cowells, but that's something else entirely. This is not what we're talking about. It's like we really need to come back to just learning our instrument, and what do we sound like.
So you mentioned that there is this one particular way that people can work with you, which sounds extremely fascinating. What is the second way? There was something else up your sleeve, another trick you say, how you help people.
So that's the therapy side of stuff. And then, working with the voice. I mainly start with toning. So that's just the vowels. Like I would use a shruti box, and we would sit there and connect in with our essence, and then just make like small sounds and start with and getting to know that and feeling comfortable, because I want to create this space where people can explore their voice in a safe way, where there's no judgment. It's not about sounding good. We're not learning any songs at that point. That would be later on down the road. Most people really would like to sing a song. People enjoy singing songs, and they want to feel that they do that in confidence, with confidence. It's about coming back to the basics of, okay, feeling really silly and make sounds, and doing like little exercises, and that's bring some like vocal exercises in, and then it would just literally be toning and coming into that, and seeing then what comes up. What are the blocks? What are the judgments that you're feeling? And then we can work with those. Are they true? Is that what's happening? I think there's always like tears at the beginning. It's normally like, oh my God, I've waited so long to connect to that part of me. And then it's like, wow, there's a joy in that. And also a sadness, because you're like, why have I waited so long?
Well, I know in some trainings that I've done, so specifically in these shamanic trainings that I do here in London, or that I participate in, you're connecting to different guides that you have. And there's always a moment where our teacher will have us, dance and then sing and vocalize. And that is like paralyzing for me. It is, I don't know what to say. I'm like, I don't know what they would sound like, as though I need to sound like the imaginary. We can
Right.
talk about that later, but as though I need to sound about like this imaginary thing that I've created. And now I need to actually sound like that thing. And so there's so much judgment, and I listen to others. And I remember bringing it up in a recent workshop. It was probably a few months back now. Just like, I don't know how to vocalize. Like, I don't know what to do. And every time it comes up in a group setting or a healing setting, just make noise. Don't worry about it. I'm like, oh shit, I need a song, or I want to like think about a thing, or I need like really thinking like I need to have this prepared for the next time.
Yeah.
Because it's so scary to just, not as a song, to just make a sound, to just bring it out and bring your voice out and be, I don't know if it's even proud or just like not afraid to do that.
It's very vulnerable. You're opening something that you're not used to doing. And like, you're like, this could sound really bad, and people could judge me for it. And, then when you track back, it could have been like a teacher that's saying, or like even just like people just saying, oh, will you just be quiet, as a kid. So there's either someone that said something like, oh, you don't sound good. Most of the time it's that. And you're like, just think of this lovely little child singing a song, even if they sound like a bit off. It's like, why do you have to say that to this child? It's like, just encourage them, because so somewhere along the line there's been something like that. And I think you have to feel the fear and do it anyway. Like, there's no way around it, but there is small baby steps. Is a really good one to start with, because everyone knows that. It's familiar. Most people are kind of like, okay, I know what an is, if they're in the wellness industry. And they're like, okay, cool. I can do that. I can do an at the end of a yoga session, exploring those things. I remember they were like, oh, be a bird, like I was doing this voice thing. It's like, okay, now let's all just be a crazy bird. It's like, okay, sure. I went to The Naked Voice by Chloe Goodchild. And it was a workshop, and she would start off the whole session of everyone kind of singing their name, like Charlene, and then it goes to the next person. But like even the people that have probably been to many of these sound sessions, they're still like, Charlene, and they're like, oh my God, it's coming closer to me as it's coming around the room. Even I think sometimes it's like we assume that, people that know their voice, I'll sing or whatever. It's like, I think we're all in the same boat. And I think when we start remembering that we all feel like, shit, it's coming closer to us. It's coming closer to me. I'm going to have to make a sound. I think it's just really just exploring those sounds. And I think starting with the vowels and like, what does it sound like if it's in my nose out here, or like you can do lip bubbles, like things like that, and it kind of just eases you into that. It's being playful with it. I think as kids, I think my mum would tell me off because I'd make like random noises all the time, but all kids do. And then I realized it was a vocal exercise, which is really funny. When I was
You're
older,
like, I've just been preparing for my role my whole life.
So I think it's always going to feel really vulnerable, and you just have to try and slowly kind of go into it and not find your edge, but not go too far.
So I'm also wondering, because I know you said before that you were in rock bands. So were you a singer? Is this something that you have loved, that you've been using your voice? And
Yeah. So, I mean, gosh, I sung as a kid, but to anyone that would like listen. Also,
except your mom, who was like, please stop.
Well, she told me to stop most of the time because the kids were asleep. But one story that she did say to me when I think I must have been about 7, and she was upset, and I said, "Oh, Mum, I can sing you a song to make you happy," which I was like, "Oh." So I think it started there. I could use sound or voice to lift your spirit. So being a 7-year-old, you're connected to that more, aren't you? So, and then in my teens, I didn't really want to sing to anyone because I was in my teens and it was like the judgment. Then a friend, it was quite funny. I would only sing in front of a few different people like that I trusted. And I'd practice on my own. And then she recorded me without me knowing. And then she showed me and I was like, actually, that's not too bad. I wasn't horrified by it. And then she sneaked the tape and showed someone else. And I was like, no, don't. And then I was like, okay, that's not a bad reaction. So even though I was still quite nervous about it, I was sort of pushing my edges slowly. And then eventually I joined a band. And then it kind of went from there. But I was always nervous before I went on stage. And I always used to feel like, when will I be in my essence of like being on stage? When will I get to that point? Like of feeling so like embodied. Now I understand what that was that I was yearning for. And although, it was always so much tension around it of perfection, and then coming away from it for a few years and then coming back to it in a completely different way, I can do that now. And that's through the holistic approach. Because I've kind of taken away or sort of like removing those judgments and realizing that I'm trying to be me, not anyone else. I'm not trying to sound like anyone else. What's my sound? And so in that, I can then be me. I mean, I still obviously have those things. I'm like, oh, and I'm like, no, but this is my voice. And like working with that.
I think it's just a great story also to remind me and just reflect on how often I've had stage fright, even when I'm in my element.
Mm,
When I've facilitated workshops, like I literally do nothing more naturally than like facilitating groups and conversations and all of this. It's totally mine. I
mm,
love it. And still the nervousness that comes with doing it and the judgment or the criticism or whatever comes along with that. So for you, that vessel is through your voice. For me, that's through whatever the other thing is. Like, so all of us just have that.
mm.
And the thing that we're doing, even if it comes naturally or we're exceptional at it, it doesn't mean all those other life stories and limiting beliefs don't rise to the surface in the moment we're like standing up to shine.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I'm still like in doing that now, like, being on
Yeah.
the podcast and just stepping out into doing more of those stuffs and holding space. Um, yeah, it's like, do people want to hear what I've got to say, or but it's like, I think when we realize, it's like everyone feels the same,
Yeah.
and which kind of makes things feel a little bit easier.
It's also, I have to say, because this has been happening to me more and more recently, like I guess it also depends what's your real intention or your
Mm,
real goal behind doing some of the things that you're doing. I'm not
yeah.
speaking just to you, Charlene, just you, the general you, and to myself,
Mm,
because I've had a few times over the last few weeks that I've like noticed very clearly that things that used to make me so effing nervous that I'd be like full of anxiety, that I can just show up and do it now
mm.
in very different areas of my life. And I'm noticing, so I'm like, wait, where's all that fear, adrenaline, anxiety, and like, I want to throw up? Why isn't that here too? So it's really noticeable. And I'm like, this is what this can feel like.
Yeah,
Like, are you
I've had
kidding?
that.
I can
Yeah.
just show up and be like, okay with this. What?
I said to my friend, like, when you regulate, get into regulating your nervous system, right? Like when you start regulating yourself in that way, and I think you've done a lot of work and you've moved through a lot of those things, and you can talk to those parts of yourself,
Mm.
and you've done that. I'm like, I feel like a psychopath.
Yeah.
Am I a psychopath? Is this like, what's going on? We really laugh because I'm like, whoa, like those things that would,
Yeah.
make me feel so like, whoa, they're not there. And
Yeah.
it's just like, whoa, like what you're saying, like, oh, this is so nice.
I know. Like, wait, this is how I can feel? Okay, sign me up.
Like gliding through stuff, like with ease and grace.
Mm.
And it comes back to whatever you're doing, you're using your voice. It's,
Mm.
even, speaking up and speaking, what you want to share, and how do we say it in a beautiful, concise way. I think the more we kind of get rid of these things, it comes out and it's there. And it's,
Mm.
I mean, I edit your podcast and I'm like, that's so good. You're so good at this.
My biggest supporter, honestly. Whenever you message me and you're like, Amanda, wow. And I'm like, oh, thank God she likes it. I'm like, I must have hit some nail on some head with this one. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like, listening to all of the different podcasts that you've done about the healers and stuff. The main message is coming back to yourself.
Mm.
And then we give permission to others to do the same.
Mm.
So it's like, if I'm showing up and singing, then other people are like, oh, I want to do that. Or they will light something up in
Mm.
them that they want to do something. So it's like us showing up helps other people to go, oh, it is even possible.
Yeah. Well, I love that you're helping people literally find their voice and to use their voice and to find ways that feel comfortable where they don't feel ashamed, or that they can just express themselves in this, well, not really new way, but it is maybe a new way for many of us, without having to be afraid. And whether they choose to use it or not, anything else doesn't matter. It's that you have one more tool at your disposal that helps you connect to yourself and helps you express yourself and feel grounded. It feels really powerful, like a really powerful way to connect with yourself and be able to share yourself also in the world.
Yeah, 100%. I did a human design. I've got to say this, the human design, I'm a generator. I think you are too, right?
Yeah, same.
So, but one of the really interesting things that came from that, and also my training, was finding hearing your sounds that your body makes before you speak the words. So I think it's so important, because then that's the connection. Our body is always communicating with us, but we miss it because we're so busy in our minds. And again, it's our sounds. So it's like, asking someone a question, or yes and no, do you like ice cream? Or would you like ice cream? It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Like, yeah, sure. But it's like, you're not really saying yes, you're saying you don't
You're like, oh
know.
my God, yes, I want that.
Exactly. It's like this, when you're interested in something, just listening to those sounds that we make, and then it becomes really obvious now when you're doing it. You're like,
Ooh, ah.
But that means that you're interested in it. That means that your body wants it. It means that your whole being it lights you up. Whereas there's some things that contract, and it's like, but you feel like you should be saying yes when really your body's saying no. And so that's also how we can use our sounds and getting to know our sounds through that as well.
So this brings up a question for me, because this has been on my mind a lot. I've been teaching it, to be honest, but I'm still finding my way to my own answer about yes and no. How do you find yes and no within yourself?
I find it in how my body feels. My yeses feel expansive, and it feels like this opening, and my no's feel,
Okay.
and I make
Beautiful.
noise.
Do you want ice cream?
Yeah, and I've always been very vocal with I've always used my sounds, but I've never tapped into them, and that was like beautiful. I was like, oh, wow. So I've really been practicing that, because it goes in with what I'm doing as well. And I think when you start observing it, you'll then start realizing what your yeses are and how it feels in the body. Everyone's going to be slightly different to how it feels. I'm very in the moment. I feel it. Some people might be, I don't know what to do, but it's like taking your time with it. And if you don't know, I think it's always, can I get back to you? I think that's the
Yeah.
important thing, is saying, can I get back to you on that? Can I let you know
Yeah.
in a couple of days?
When people do that, I'm always like, what?
Wow.
You can do that? Like, really? There's one woman I know in particular, she's also a healer. And when we have a conversation, she'll be like, yeah, okay, I'm going to think about that. And I'm like, like, really floored that someone does not give into immediacy culture of like, I need the answer right now. And I'm like, wow, okay. And for me, I think sometimes it really is just, I know right away. Like, I feel it, but also, I guess just as often, it's like, actually, I'm going to need to think about it. Like, I really don't know. And because there's probably a lot of stories going on in my mind about like, I should say yes, or this would be good, or who knows,
Yeah.
that cloud my judgment.
And also, am I saying no out of fear?
Yeah.
I think you said that probably many a times, but it is that, am I saying and feeling like, what's the difference between my, I don't want to do it because I'm out of my comfort zone, or am I, this is not for me? What's the difference between those things? And I think that is just literally when we start finding and being our authentic selves, and wanting to explore our inner worlds with these wonderful modalities and singing and sounding. It's like you can feel what it feels like
Mm.
viscerally, what it feels like when you're lit up,
Mm.
and excited. So then you've got like, you can measure stuff against that. You've got something to refer it to or have a reference. Because otherwise, if you don't have any references, you don't know.
Mm.
You're asked from your elbow, as the saying goes, and you don't know where to
As you
start,
say.
as I say. So, yeah.
So, what kind of healing would you say is possible through working with the voice?
Well, there's one just overall joy, I think, which then leads to beautiful oxytocin release, which we know does so many beautiful things, which is the cuddle hormone. And then that helps with pain. And I think it's called nitric oxide, which also helps support, or one of the things is the cardiovascular and blood flow. So it does all these beautiful things in the body. That's just to name a few things. I think for me as a child, when I look back and looked at all of the healing things when I was doing sound healing with the voice, I realized I was actually doing that. And that was how I processed my emotions as a child. There was
Mm.
lots of big things that were going on in my life during, when I was like 9, my sister passed away. And so there was like
Ooh.
lots of real big, heavy emotions that a child, how do you hold that? So I feel like now when I look back, I realize that I was moving and I was processing my emotions through singing and through dance. That's healing in itself. So helping you sort of tap into those things, sound and music and singing. If you want to feel an emotion, like you can put on a sad track and you can then feel the heartbreak. But sometimes you don't allow yourself to feel it. It helps you feel into those things, those heavier things. And I feel like it holds that and supports it. And so we can allow ourselves to process and to cry. And the same goes for like when we're happy or if we want to lift our mood. If you listen to a happy song or more of an energetic song, there's been studies where
Mm.
it helps people with their mindset. Hence why fighters might go out and play a certain song and you're like,
Mm.
feel that energy. Like, whoa, okay,
Mm.
they're going to do their thing. And athletes and helping their performance. So there's so many things that sound and the voice can do. I know on my own experience, I was dealing with a lot of pain in the body, and so I really, really, really honed in. And this is like the work that I've been doing over the last 2 years, and realizing how that it's your voice is connected to your vagus nerve, which is then going to regulate your nervous system. And we know that a nice regulated nervous system, or one that you can start building the window of tolerance so you can deal with the stresses in life, singing and vocalizing helps you get into that state. The
Mm.
more we're in that state, the more our body can heal, because our body wants to heal. We just need to put it in the right environment. And these tools and practices help us get our body into that environment for then it to be able to do its beautiful work.
Mm.
And the body's wisdom knows what it needs to do, and then it will do it. I'm still on that journey, but I haven't had, I think, my proper day in, day out working at the studio, doing sound, really dedicating myself to this was like properly, fully like a year and a half ago. Like I was like, right, this is my calling. I know that I've been doing this stuff for a long time, but like really, really properly stepping into it. And yeah, I've been pain free for nearly a year.
Wow.
So it's like that
Wow.
was great.
So many things have come into alignment just from knowing you personally as well. Like you're sitting in this gorgeous studio. So if anyone's in London, the space in Clapham Common, it's run by Charlene and Lily. It's just this stunning, the energy in that room is so powerful and grounding. There's plants everywhere. It's beautiful. Like, I think that came in at the same time that you really started, let's say, taking yourself more seriously as a sound healer. And I know you're also doing other healing podcasts as well. That's what I understand. So it sounds like this has started all coming in together, and
Yeah.
shocking, you're pain free.
I know, it's crazy. Yeah. And that was a journey. And that, again, like, there's a lot to talk about there, but we don't need to go into loads of stuff there. But it really is also like, that mindset of, I think, how I got into that situation was not how I was getting out. And that was the message. And I was like, I have to change something. And that's when, when you're talking about the body and following your heart and following that yes, it was like, I need to follow my yes. And that was it. So it's like following those sounds and really, really tapping in and tuning in. Because I was doing it for a while, but then it was just like, I feel like it was a healing, it wasn't a healing crisis. So I feel
Oh
like it
gosh,
was
I know
one of
those.
those.
Oh boy. So for
Yeah.
anyone who's listening who would like to either learn more about this method or work with you, where should they look? How do they get in touch?
So yeah, Instagram, Charlene Songbird. And then my website, charlenehuskinson.com. And all the information's there. Send me a message and we can take it from there, what your needs are.
And so people can work with you either remotely or in person, or is it primarily in person?
I think in person for the first couple of sessions,
Yeah,
and then
okay.
we could take it remotely if
So
that's
get
needed.
yourselves over to London. You're not
But
going to want to miss this.
I can do it
Yeah.
remotely, but it is always nice if possible.
Yeah.
To do
Well,
it in
I think
person.
that's important, that people know, because I mean, the space that you do it in also is really beautiful. And if you want to have this experience, that there's that option to reach out. Like, is there anything, if people want to learn more about it or train themselves, is there any resources or schools or things? I know you mentioned where you had trained, but anything like that you'd recommend?
Yeah, I mean, there's the College of Sound Healing, which is great, and that's the sound healing with the voice. And then there is like a few resources. It's called the Humming Effect. That's a
Okay.
really good, easy read to sort of go through. It sounds sound healing from for health and happiness. And Jonathan Goldman, he's pretty big in the sound healing community. So that's a really cool book. And The Naked Voice, Chloe Goodchild. When I picked up this book, I was just like, I couldn't stop
I've got a
reading.
picture like that sitting right here too, as on the cover of the book. So I'll take
There
that
you
sync.
go.
Thank you.
She's got some really beautiful practices in there. I've done a couple of her courses as well. So that could be a nice way of like exploring your voice. Yeah. So those are the things. And I would also, recommend anyone to sort of, get on put on a track and sing your favorite songs. Or even if it's like a meditation track, you can put that on so no one can hear you, so you can feel a little bit more supported, and hum along, make up whatever. Could just be one
Let's
note.
do that now.
For 5 minutes and see how it feels. I always feel that the body is just like vibrating after.
Is there any advice that you might give to someone or who's just starting, or maybe you even would have liked to know this when you were just starting?
What would I say to someone? Yeah, the way you got in to certain situations is not the way you're getting out. And so you have to make changes. Otherwise, there is this push-pull thing that's going to happen until you like really commit to like, I don't want that anymore. And then things change, and taking baby steps with this stuff, because I think even when you're on this journey, if you're wanting to train in this stuff, or if it's just for personal growth, it's just being kind with yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. But change is required, and embracing that.
So powerful, especially as we're in the change of seasons, the eclipse season, the equinox coming up. Probably when this releases, we'll be past the equinox, but you'll still be feeling the effects of it. So definitely trusting that those changes they're for the best if you want your life to feel differently.
Yeah. Yeah. Be with joy and sing and find a choir,
Mm.
you know.
I'm going to go chant after this
Yeah,
call.
chant.
After this episode is recorded, I'm
just
going to hang up and start singing.
Yeah, explore and try it, you know.
Well, now I know that you can help my voice sound better, so I'm keeping that one in mind too. So thank you so much for joining today and sharing all of your wisdom and insight and really beautiful storytelling as well.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
And to everyone who's listening, thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Don't Step on the Bluebells, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of Don't Step on the Bluebells. If you enjoyed this conversation, please give the podcast a 5-star rating wherever you listen. And don't forget to hit subscribe and follow along so you never miss a new episode.